Because, for example, there's a book out there by a guy named Greg Bishop called Project Beta. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't.
This is a really good book right now. It's a
Project Beta.
Project Beta, and it's the subtitle is something like the story of Paul Benowitz and the evolution of the modern UFO myth. And what it's about is a civilian physicist who was on contract to work at for the Air Force, I believe, and ultimately he was one of these people who was a civilian researcher in the UAP in the New Mexico area where that's a hot spot, and the Air Force deliberately deceived him and exploited him, and even broke into his house to make him believe that there was going to be an imminent alien invasion, and he basically nearly went crazy. And the Air Force did that deliberately. And
what?
Yeah, yes. The book is really good to read too. You can read it like in a day. It's all happened. The main perpetrator in the Air Force is a guy named Richard Doty. He's quite well known in the UAP circles, and that's what he did. And I can see that happening right now. And we could talk about this later, but you know this DoD UFO office called AARO?
Mm-hmm.
So they recently released a report.
Real quick, what does AARO stand for again?
All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And their report was looking at the historical kind of story of the U.S. government's UAP involvement. Congress directed them to do this report, and they basically didn't do their job. It was a lot of errors. They missed a lot. And one of the prominent UAP authorities on national security, Chris Mellon, wrote a scathing expose, if you will, on all the errors in the report and how they didn't meet the congressional mandate. And when you read that, and you can tell they're obviously obfuscating. They are deliberately not saying what they know and saying things that are patently untrue in this report that Congress directed. And so Chris wrote a great article in the debrief about it and all the flaws. And when you put that together and look at that, you can just see that is active disinformation. They're not acknowledging what they know, and they're actually putting out false information.
Why are they putting out false information?
So this is really it makes sense if you worked in the government at a high level like me. The executive branch, the National Security Council, upon direction from the president, and the Department of Defense and the intelligence community, the Office of Director of National Intelligence, they're the ones who could have the say. Should we disclose or not? And the AARO is just doing their bidding, because that executive branch, those bodies, they set the policy of the administration. I saw this in my job under Secretary of Commerce. The Trump administration wanted to do certain things, and we did those things. We actually did a lot of good, and I could talk about that the press never gave us credit for. But that's how it flows. And this administration doesn't want to do that. So AARO is just the mouthpiece. It's the policy at the top level of the executive branch that directs whether they want to disclose or not. Now, it makes a lot of sense because, UFO people want to see it. But if you were Biden, would you want to tell the American public, hey, I can't keep our airspace safe. It's being visited by entities whose intent I don't understand and I can't control it. Same for our water space. Do you think you want to announce that to the American people on the verge of the election and say, I'm not doing my job, I can't keep you all safe? I don't think so.
Probably not. But what is the disinformation piece? Why would the Air Force be planting disinformation in researchers' homes?
Well, that was back then. I'd be hard pressed to see them do that today. But that's it. They went out of control. They were basically not aligned with the Constitution, and they did that because now they don't say it in the book. The book just talks about the facts, but it's the same thing again that's happening today. They don't want the public to know that there really is a crash retrieval program and that we are monitoring UAP in our airspace and water space, and we can't control their actions, and we don't fully understand their intentions, and that's a dangerous thing to leak to the public, and so they are deliberately falsifying it and exploiting people, making them appear as wackos, thus creating a stigma behind the whole scene, which has prevented serious scientific study. And that's why I've joined Galileo, Americans for Safe Aerospace, and the Soul Foundation to advance the scientific study of the phenomenon.
Interesting. So that's a so that the disinformation is just to discredit whoever
Yeah,
is
that's exactly
getting
it.
into the subject.
That's right. And it's happening overtly today. That office is doing it. And you see it all around the media now. There's just a lot of, there are individuals who I will not name who I believe are getting paid, but every day they get out online and they're well known in this UAP community, and their number one job is to discredit these national authorities, these people like Lou Elizondo, who was with the task force, the UAP task force. I've met and trust and know, and he is 100% who he says he is, and what he says he's seen and knows, I have total confidence in. People like him, he's an active target of people discrediting him and others too.
Interesting. Is there anybody I should be looking out for?
Gosh, I don't study this like other people do. Some people they really spend a lot of time on this. Yeah,
I'll ask you
I'm just not
offline.
going to name names because I don't know. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
I understand. I'll ask you offline.